Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Euro Trade. Happy Monday. We are almost at the end of July, which is crazy. And I'm going to be looking at a combine because gold is in rollover. So we want to wait until that finishes. May have some setups on natural gas, but before we get into the charts, if you're here for the first time, welcome. My name is Marcus Stalker D. I've been trading for 18 years for various prop firms ever since 2013, but before then I traded my own cash. I came from a background of swing trading, then went into intraday, and it took me about 2 additional years before I figured out what to do as an intraday trader, and then a further 5 years after that before I worked out how to trade more kind of range bound days. So it's been a journey, but basically I specialize in slightly more unusual products that you maybe don't hear about as much. I like trading precious metals and energies markets. That has been my main specialty ever since 2013. And this is why you will see analysis on things like gold, platinum, copper, natural gas, maybe some gasoline futures. However, keep in mind it is July, although this week might be a little bit more bouncy than usual. However, July in general as well as August are traditionally quieter months. The only product that doesn't suffer much from summer doldrums tends to be gold. And so we'll see if we can find something to trade today. Let's have a look at who is in the chat. But before then, also Bruno has just posted the risk disclosure. So any positions that you see here, they're not a signal service. So it's all for educational purposes mainly. And just to give you an overview of some different ways how you can analyze the markets. I like to use a combination of things like market profile, supply and demand, and options levels. Why options levels is because we've had a huge kick up in the volume, especially in the equities markets, ever since COVID came along. So it is my belief that if you're not looking at them, you're kind of missing a piece of the pie, a piece of the puzzle. And therefore you will see some GEX levels on my charts, as well as quantitative extremes, which is ADR high, ADR low. So yeah, let's have a look at gold first and foremost. I don't actually have any levels right around this price. I have some levels up at 33.45 and 33.50, and then at 33.25. 33.25, I would expect to see a little bit of market makers engaging to the upside, primarily because we are still in positive gamma environment, which means that the market makers are long, and that kind of means if they want to stay neutral, which is their primary function to provide liquidity for the rest of us, they will need to sell rallies, but also long at certain important areas. So we'll see how that happens. But basically, yeah, 33.45 to 33.50 on this August contract is where I might want to see some sellers stepping in before getting involved. We also have the value area from the London session from Friday in and around these levels. When it comes to the COMEX session on Friday, we're dead in the middle of that value. So not much to figure out from that, at least not yet. If the market stays above 33.31 and below 33.44, those are your value high and value low areas. So that would be an inside day, as we like to call it, which means a higher probability of this market staying range bound. So be careful today. Obviously, we have the FOMC and we also have the NFP this week. as well as do we have jobless claims too? Let me just check the calendar. That's another thing you need to put in your plans to make sure that you're aware of all of these different events so that you don't go, oh my god, what happened? And always keep an eye out on financial juice for any headline risk coming in. We've had plenty of those. Right, so Australia has a CPI overnight Tuesday. The ADP non-farm employment, I never really pay much attention to that because first of all, that number is kind of like a guess. It's a made-up number. It's not really the proper kind of non-employment. It's a projection of what should be happening. Sometimes it can be a precursor to NFP, but for me, I don't know. I've never really put too much stock into that number because normally it's not, you know, it's not the real number, so why would I be looking at it? What else do we have? So yeah, we have the big boy federal funds rate. They are expecting the rates to be held at 4.5%. We'll see what they believe is the right thing to do. But we had the ECB rate decision last week. They held their rates. And the reason Christine Lagarde gave for that is because at the moment there is no need to change anything. And much like Powell, like Daddy Powell, they're in the observe and then act. So right now they see no cause to change that. So we'll see what Powell says and whether he agrees, right? Bank of Japan also has the rate decision too. That's happening overnight Wednesday for me. I suppose it's sort of into Thursday morning. And then that's going to be followed by the press conference. So maybe if you trade Forex, maybe look at JPY for that time. Because there's going to be probably some moves that you can maybe take advantage of. What else do we have? Core PCE. Meh. Anything else? Yeah, so basically we have the non-farms on Friday, first Friday of the month as always, and then ISM manufacturing on that same day a little bit later. So yeah, it's a chock full of releases this week, but again, it's July, so typically in July, if there is not much else happening, those moves tend to be a bit lackluster. So I'll be very careful how you trade. If you absolutely must trade, I would advise you to move into an account that doesn't mean much to you. So for most of you, that would be a practice account. And just to gather data, you know, you don't have to trade the XFAs and lives to get some observational trades going on and then log those, right? They're just as useful, if not more. So yeah. Who do we have in chat? We have Mr. Opinion. It's a funny way to spell that. We have Alex LPA. We have What is the Crime? Kevin Guy. Teo is here. Stevie G. Am I butchering your name? I'm sorry. Harvey Gordon. Live Rich or Die Poor. Ew, that's a bit of an extremist point of view. And also live rich. Like, meh. Live rich? Depends, right? It depends whether you're able to afford that, and if not, I would probably work on maybe getting more assets rather than just attempting to live rich. And what is being rich anyways? Let's get philosophical. So certain traders complaining how they don't have a family. Yarden is here. Just Flow. Mariano. Trade with Nick. Right, so we have a full house here. That's nice to see. All right, let's have a look at copper. Copper has gone a little bit quiet. So I'm probably moving away from copper for a while until that improves. Copper is not rolling over. I think it's already in September, so we have some time there. Platinum staying in October as well, so no roll there either. What is platinum environment? Let's have a look. Okay, so platinum, the market makers are in positive gamma, which means they are long. In order for them to stay neutral, they would probably need to sell platinum at some point. We're about to reach Globex VWAP, where we also have GEX3 at 1440. And where are we on the value areas? If I can find my mouse pointer, that would be nice. Okay, so we are a little bit below the value area on the open and currently trying to accept value to the upside. But if that fails, then obviously that would be a pretty decent area. Aside from that, I have a level of interest up at 1450. So same, really similar levels from last week. Not too much change. The GEX levels have flipped around a little bit, but overall it's still looking very, very similar. So maybe if platinum kind of chills out into a consolidation, maybe there's a short somewhere. As always, I want to wait for at least 10-15 minutes after one of these levels get hit in order to see what they want to do with it. Otherwise, we're just guessing. V has got a question. I don't know whether Bruno picked it up yet. So he says, hey, Deeyana, since you're based in the UK and so am I wanted to know if I can take payouts from the Topstep into an LTD. So here's the thing. I did have some discussions with one of the support guys probably about 2 years ago when I came back to Topstep, because if you don't know, I've actually been Topstep on and off for about 10 years. That's how I know Hogue. That's how I know everybody. And back in the day, Michael, when we had the Squawk Radio, Michael was known as Nebraska. That was his username, and some of us who had been with Topstep from back then, that we still call him Nebraska. But yeah, I got pretty close with Eddie and Hogue and Hoop as well. He was a part of Squawk Radio as well, and Hoop and I have gotten closer and closer over the last couple of years, over our mutual dislike of what used to be our favorite product. But here's the thing. So I had a conversation about the fact that I wanted to register with them through W8BENE form for companies. And they told me, because they are basically doing just the individuals, so they're signing you under your actual name, that on their side you only can fill out the W8BEN form for individuals. But then it became more than obvious that you can actually use a business-wide account that is connected to your LTD in the UK to receive payouts. So that nobody has a problem with that. As long as you pay your taxes, nobody cares, right? So so that's what I do. I basically do trade through an LTD, and whenever I do payouts, I will do them these days through an LTD. I no longer run any of my trading activities as an individual, because as you know, the tax in the UK gets up to 40%, and it's extremely difficult. It's like people, even when I traded with size, people are like, oh yeah, you're trading like 40 lots and you must be killing it. It's like, yeah, but 40%, sometimes even 50% if you mismanage the dividends, which I have done, by the way. So you end up paying literally an arm and a leg for that, and it's it's extraordinarily difficult. So that's what I do. So just fill out the W8BEN but also have a Wise business account connected to your actual LTT business account in the UK, and make sure you declare everything. So, you know, just keep it above board. So easy peasy, right? Mariana says, Dee, tell us what chair do you use? I need to upgrade mine and not sure what to get. Okay, so I actually have a few chairs. Right now I'm actually in my little motorized chair because it's super comfortable. But I did have a, what was the name of that chair? I've just bought another one, but I, for the office chair, used to have one that I had for like 7 years, and then the arm handles started to break. Like there's a rubber, and then all of the rubber just broke. So the chair that I had, oh my god, what was it called? Right, hold on, I need to switch this on and then just move my little thing here. And I can walk, by the way. It's just some days it's annoying. Oh, what do we have? All right, so my old chair was the Okamura chair, one of those mesh chairs, and that's the one where the rubber fell apart. The one that I have coming on the way as a replacement to for that one is actually one of the John Lewis oh god, what was it called? You're making me think this early in the morning. Okay, let's see. John Lewis Rowley office chair, that's what it's called. So this is the one that's going to be arriving, and I got it in this color. Now I tried this because it's cheap compared to the Okamura one. Okamura was an arm and a leg, but I went into the shop and I sat in this thing and I was like, oh my god, this is so comfortable. So I decided to get that one because I also sat, so I see that Bruno has the Herman Miller one. I sat in that one. It was nowhere near as comfortable as this one. But full disclosure, at the moment I am sitting in my motorized chair from Glebe Mobility because it's actually really comfortable. So I'm just sitting here and I'm able to like be like a Bond villain, right? Just to move along. And yeah, I use that sometimes when my legs are feeling like lead, so I can walk, but sometimes I get dizzy and, you know, I just have to manage myself. But yeah, Rowley office chair, absolutely amazing if you can get a hold of it. It keeps going out of stock. But I swiped the Mocha when it arrived, and then they said, oh, we'll deliver it in 3 weeks, and that was 2 weeks ago, so soon it should be here. And as you can see, it's pretty cheap, right? I don't know how it's so comfortable, but it's probably the most comfortable chair that I've sat in like ever. All right, some selling coming into the platinum here, so let's see what's going on a 15-minute chart and whether they reject that 1440 level. Gold still away from 33.25 and 33.45, so nothing to see here. But this GEX3 on platinum might be doing its thing. And then the only thing I would be looking for from platinum would be a 1425 target if I do get some sort of initiation on the short side. But for me, this is still not a great rejection from VWAP and the 1440 GEX3. And actually, is it GEX3? Yeah, it's GEX3. So I'm just going to put that here. And let's have a look at the 2-minute chart. Yeah, they're not quite underneath my ribbon yet. Okay, now they are. Now they are. All right, Bruno says he doesn't have the Herman Miller, but he wishes, but it's too expensive. Yeah, you see, my Okamura chair was how much was it? It was about £1,500, I think. So it was very expensive, and yeah, it's comfortable. It was comfortable. It's just the arms just started falling apart, and then I don't know. Over the years, I'm kind of moving away from the mesh chairs now. I like the nice cushiony thing for my rear. Want the rear to be soft. All right, let's see if we can get a platinum trade here. Yeah. Now on platinum, I actually like to use a 70 tick stop. Because I find that if I use anything less, it just wicks me out of perfectly good trades. So I want to have enough space. And then I'm only going in one, because if we go back up to retest GX3 and then reject again, I can add. So I'm starting very slow so that quite potentially we can get maybe a better entry and minimize the stop. The risk that I have on this particular combine is maximum 3 platinum. So I can effectively scale into another 2 if it gives me an opportunity. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's just a little trade to start the week and to get my feet wet into this rollover week on gold. Because I do want to be trading gold. It seems to be moving more than anything else, which is statistically what it should be doing in summertime. I personally don't like adding into trades unless I'm in with like multiple contracts. So if my base contract here was about 5 or 6, if it goes my way, I might add 1 or 2. But I really dislike adding into positions. If you start with 1, then you add another 1, because that's 100% increase, and it really screws up your entry, completely messes up your entry. Because why? You're adding 100%. So now that's not the same trade. So now you not only have a bigger stop loss, you have double the size away from the level that you were initially looking at. So the correct, I mean, there's correct way, you know, there's a million ways to do things, but the correct way to not mess up your trade average is to start with multiples. Now the problem with platinum, we don't have micros. If you have micros, you can start with multiples, and ideally, you know, I would prefer to be at least in 6 micros somewhere before I start adding, and then you only add up to 30%. You wouldn't add 100% and then another 100%. That's how you get yourself into trouble. Is it 5 per point? Yeah, it's 5 per point. Some of the energies markets like RBOB and heating oil, they're 420. And I know what you're thinking, oh, 420. But it's basically because it's 42,000 barrels on the underlying contract per one contract, so it's 420. Has nothing to do with weed. Doza says Herman Miller are great chairs. Yeah, so are Okamura. Okamura are within the same level as Herman Miller. And I can't quite remember which one I had. It was the more expensive one. Don't know. I can't be bothered to go and read. But yeah, when we bought it like 7-8 years ago, it was very expensive. So which one was it? It might have been the Sabrina, but I'm not entirely sure. Kind of looks like that one. Or was it Contessa? It might have been Contessa. The back doesn't and I mean, it's an old chair as well, so it's probably not going to be looking the same now. Could have been this one, because it looks very similar to that. So yeah, not cheap. But you know, how often do you buy office chairs? So if you really want to splash out, One thing I would say, go and test it. So don't just, don't just like buy it online and spend $2,000. Go into a showroom if you can. Bruno says $5 per tick and 50 per point. I'm not sure whether it's 50 per point. Is it 50 per point? It might be 100 per point. Maybe. I don't know. I know ticks. I know ticks. It's too early to do math. So don't make me. Right, I'm gonna go back down to a 5-minute chart here. See whether they reject again. So again, bit of a non-committal rejection of VWAP. See what they do. Stephen Donlan, so your hard stop is 350. Yeah, that's correct. 350 risk roughly. I take it you will get out before that. Yeah, so it's if it gives me an opportunity, I will close it out if we start to break the 1440. But my sort of orientation point, and the way platinum moves, especially if it's a low volatility environment, which this definitely is, sometimes it may not give you an opportunity. It just kind of wicks because somebody with bigger size comes in and they just take most of the order book. I mean, look at this one. So let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So the only thing we would need here is somebody coming in with a 20 lot and they would take the entirety of the upside. And that's a wick. That's how the wicks happen. So we'll see. But yeah, so a couple of reasons here. GEX3 is a pretty strong level in the options. VWAP as well. Again, still pretty early. Nothing crazy happening just yet, but if we look on the 4-hour chart, and it's not done yet obviously, so it's still happening, but we've had a lower high created here and it's just struggling, right? It's struggling. And on this 4-hour chart, the 16 EMA, which is this middle orange line, we're below that right now. So to me, this is kind of still looking a little short. And if we look on the daily chart, we're not exactly in at any demand levels. Daily chart has no real reversals. We've got some wicks, but really the demand is closer to 14, 15. If I was going to look at round numbers, what do we have down there? And we don't really have many levels. We have a level down to sub 1400. So we have GEX1, which is very strong. But the overall, so the way the gamma works, the market makers will be either positive or negative, right? They have to take the opposing positions of their investors. And then as the price moves up or down, they actually have to adjust their own positions in the underlying and keep buying and selling, doing two things: generating liquidity for the rest of us to make sure that we are that we have a tighter bid and ask spread, and then also to have delta neutral position. So that means that in a positive gamma, really anytime they come across any bigger interests, level of interests, such as GEX3, GEX2, core resistance, put support, those two being very strong, or any kind of exhaustion levels like ADR low and high, which can be taken either from my calculation, which is pretty simple, or from the implied volatility. That's also an option. They have to offload some of the positions or actively sell in order to maintain that delta neutrality. Now, where that's going to happen, it's anyone's guess. So this is why we have to be, open to both sides of the story and just kind of try and figure out what's going on. Now, whenever the levels break like this, I want to see whether they're sustained or whether we bleed back down towards GEX3, because again, platinum is very thin. And at this time of the year, like I said, one bigger player, and it just takes the entirety of the order book. So starting low positions, starting with very, very low positions, and then focusing on a 15-minute chart, monitoring how these levels are working, but they can be both reversal levels, they can also be reactionary zones, right? They can kind of cause quick run through them as well. So they can be accelerators or they can be stopping points. And our job is to figure out which of these. So because I had VWAP here, there's a pretty good chance it's going to go lower. And it might still, but maybe a little bit higher up. So let's see where Asia high is. So Asia high is all the way up at 1448.3. And if this level breaks, my next level for shorts will be 1450. And now if we hold the 15-minute through GEX3 without notable selling wicks, and then if we test 1440, that becomes now, this is MGI, so it becomes a potential for longs, because now we've gone through it, a retest of the previously strong GEX level in a positive gamma environment. When broken and retested, that then becomes a long. So we'll see. But yeah, I can just see the jumpiness, the jumpy price action here. And really, I dislike being super far away from these GEX levels, so I try to get my positions whenever I can in and around them. And sometimes on Platinum, what they do is massively overshoot GEX and then bleed back through it to finish with a pretty big wick. And in some ways, that's actually a better choice, because they tried it, really tried it, failed, and then they go down. But if they stay, so we've got about 12 minutes until the next 15-minute close. If they stay above it, what you want to see is a retest of the GEX3. If that doesn't come, then you're looking at 1450 for more shorts. And just kind of following along with whatever they want to do around these levels. PG wants to know what indicator gives GEX levels. Is that automated? No, I do use, so it is automated on TradingView and on some other platforms. So the indicator is actually from a company called MentorQ. They collate and aggregate the options data and then just give you the end of day levels. So once you have those, obviously you still need to figure out what is the environment and have some sort of a solid plan around it. But generally what I do is to draw these. This is what I do in the morning, and I just spend 20 minutes plotting the levels on Topstep. Not all of them, obviously, because then I will be there for an hour. But yeah, I have my I call them my charting platforms, because I'm old school, so that's kind of how I learned anyways, because back in the day they would give you CQG, and CQG would just literally have just a dome like this. Like there would be no charts. That's what you would get. And the first time in 2013 when they gave me that, I was like, what is this? And they're like, well, it's the dome, it's depth of market. And I'm like, okay, where's the chart? And they said, oh no, that's a different package, like you have to pay for it. So I've always had different charting on different platforms, which also, by the way, prevents you from doing stupid things like entering trades accidentally. So as a good trading practice, to this day, I just choose a platform that I will always use. And I don't really care much about, transferring all of my indicators to every new platform whenever, a new firm decides that they're going to use a new platform. If I was doing that, I would probably be jumping through like about 12 different programs. So if you got something that you like, just stick to it. Use Topstep as execution. We don't need to have all of our things on one platform. It never used to be the case. So why, you know, why do you want to have all of your indicators in one spot? Because think about it, if you're clicking around, and then you accidentally press something and then you enter a trade and you're like, oh no, I only wanted to put a line, and now I pressed right click and, you know, I've entered a trade inadvertently. Oh no, right? And that's happened to me as well. It's happened to me on any time I was trying to mess around with a new platform. I would do a couple of Muppet trades and just go, oh, okay. And then not to mention leaving stops, uncovered stops. That's a laugh. Right, still waiting for GC to hit 33.45 before I do anything. Nothing else around. So now we're looking at 1450 here as the next level of interest. See what they want to do with it. Whether they stop, or they don't stop. And just to remind everyone, I have 43% accuracy across long periods of time. Why? Because I'm looking at slightly larger swings that I feel are available. But yeah, so I'm wrong a lot, and I don't care. So there you go. So PG, not an indicator. It is an indicator on TradingView, but not on TopstepX. If TopstepX ever gives us the ability to create third-party indicators rather than just the API access for order routing, you know, I would jump on that. I would definitely jump on that. Right, 1450 has arrived. Let's see what they want to do with it. And then we also have the London average session range high exhaustion right above here at 453, so 1453. So could be a better level actually. And then if they do reverse it here, I will still aim for that original 1425. That doesn't change because this was such a strong move through the level. And 1425 is a high volume level in the options. So that still remains the target. So the only thing that happens here, the way I see it, and the way I've always seen it, is even if I get hit on one, if the second level works out, you basically increase the target, because that's still, nothing changes. That's still an HVL from options activities. So and right now they're trying to create access here. So I'm gonna, because it's a combine, I can be a little bit more grasshoppery. It's the same thing, 70 ticks. And now we have a target of 222 ticks. So if this doesn't work out, then I'm gonna wait. But if it does work, now I have a bigger target of 222 ticks, even on one contract. That is about 1,110, which would cover the initial loss and then some. So leave you with 2R. Dozer TG, would you say the majority of the major players get in with market orders or limit orders to control the entry? I would say that most of them actually enter with options first, and then the market makers typically they will use market orders because they have to provide liquidity. You can't do that necessarily through limit orders. And I mean, maybe you can take profit from a limit order, but just remember, market makers don't have any desire to directionally push any product in a particular direction. Their major task is to stay market neutral, to maintain the neutral positions at all costs. Okay? So they're not out to get you. They're just out there trying to maintain delta neutral state. And when it comes to larger players, like if we're talking institutions, they will use limit orders. But they will also use iceberg orders with those limit orders. So I don't think you can trade In fact, I know you can't trade any size over about, again, depends on what you're trading. But let's say you're trading ES. They will want to enter anything from like 500, 1,000 contracts, 5,000 contracts even for, their very, very rich clients. We're talking institutional trading, position trading. And sometimes they spend weeks entering those positions. Not all 5,000 are going to go in one day or, a couple of minutes. But they will maybe fill it at one position, one zone, maybe fill 200 on the day through iceberg orders. So, do like 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and then 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Now, on something like platinum, you can't do that because it's a thin market anyway. So if you're going to do iceberg orders, you're going to have to do them in 1s and 2s because that's what's available on the dome, maybe 3 up here. And whatever side you want to take, they have to have a counterparty for you on that particular side. So it can't be just, you're going to do like one singular trade. No, they have to match you. They have to match the orders, right? But yeah, I think major players, when we're talking major players, they will use, institutions will use limit orders, probably automated as well. I don't think that these days anybody actually sits there and clicks buttons anymore. They have a lot of quants. Nobody really has manual traders in the banks. They all just want sort of PhD kind of people. And then they just use actually data from the options chains as well to see if they can maybe control their risk better because, and I don't think that institutions ever do like uncovered positions in the options market. Because that would represent, an extraordinary amount of risk. So they will use a combination of options and then also outright trading. Depends on what their goals are. And sometimes some of these orders that you see, they could be like options that are getting exercised as well. So don't forget, there's that part too. So all of it is just kind of like an orchestra of a whole bunch of market mechanics that are happening. San K says how to get a GEX level on TradingView. Go to MentorQ. I mean, MentorQ is a great company. I've done webinars with them, and again, if there was a way to get TopstepX to do like third-party indicators, I know that they would jump on there to do them because I did speak to Fabio, who runs MentorQ, and he was like, yeah, we would love to do that. So maybe at some point in the future, But, again, just to remind everybody that these sorts of platforms, even when it comes as a white label skin, which is what Project X started as, it still takes like 5 to 7 years if you want to bring everything that the other platforms have. It's a huge task, massive task. It won't just happen, you click your fingers and then suddenly it's all like boo. Every indicator requires a lot of work. So, it's coming. We're not going anywhere. We've been here for a long, long time. Topstep is the oldest online prop firm ever. So, we ain't going anywhere. There can be some growing pains as we navigate the new platform, but it is positive. By the way, whoever is complaining that their platform is lagging, I wanted to say this for a while now because we get a lot of support tickets going, well, that's laggy. Is it laggy or is your refresh rate set to fast? Fast is not always better, guys. So basically, if you have the refresh rate set on fast, what that means is that if there's any choke or you're like far away from the actual servers and stuff, that's actually going to choke the data. So please keep that on medium because I have never had a problem with TopstepX lagging, ever. Like people go, it's laggy or it's frozen. No, and I look at it both on the sim and on the live. It's working perfectly. So it's like, why are people complaining? Like, what? There must be something that they're doing. And they're like, I've got really good broadband. Yeah, but if your setting on the refresh rate says fast, if there's some sort of a problem with the server or anything, it tries to push so much data and it's just going to get laggy. So fast refresh rate, not always better. I would actually say, especially if you're overseas like me, just keep it at medium, or if you're not anywhere near the Chicago area, right? But even then, I would still keep it at medium, because I think that's the major problem of why people are having issues. So it's nothing to do with actual Topstep X, but you know, traders these days, it's like refresh rate, oh, it's gotta be fast. Are you fast? It's like, you don't just... Again, like in trading, fast, not always better. In trading and in sex. So remember that. Slow it down, right? Okay, gone through that. Kazad Engineer. Dee, what are your thoughts on a gold short? I don't think it's time for gold shorts yet. I think gold really needs to get up at the very least at 33.45, maybe 33.50, in order for it to be valid for shorts. Otherwise, we're in danger of it just shooting back up. If you look at where we are, there is sort of a demand in and around ballpark 3,300 or so. We're in rollover, right? This is the final week of Q contract, of the August contract, and we're going to roll into December. Why? Because there is not much delivery requirements for gold for August, September, October. So the next delivery period where they need to deliver gold to either users or whoever is using gold for whatever purpose, but usually in and around the Christmas period, it will be like jewelry stores and stuff. They will be the biggest users of gold. So naturally, the demand for gold is in December for gold deliveries. And therefore, there is no need to do anything for these months. Therefore, they jump immediately to December. So it's going to be GCZ, or GCZ, as we call it over here in England. Roy Evans, are these institutions using algorithms to trade? Yes. In fact, more than 80% of all trading with institutions is now done through algorithms. Nobody is hiring, like you can see it even in sort of quant firms like Jane Street and stuff. Nobody's going position for a manual trader. Or they say position for a commodities trader, and then they go PhD in statistics, familiarity with Python and R, or expertise in Python or R, and that's all they do. They just basically stare at a bunch of data and try to derive statistical probabilities. That's what it's turned into. So you know, they don't look at charts. Nobody's going to be staring at charts at the institutions. It's only us grasshoppers over here, the cowboy traders, prop traders, because we're a little bit cowboy. That's where it came from, right? We came from trading actual goods to now trading on the screen. So that means I don't have to go and scream in the pit anymore. And I wouldn't have been able to be a trader unless I had stilts and a megaphone, because I'm very short and not very loud. So that wouldn't be my ideal job, I don't think. I don't think I would be a trader ever if I had to go into the pits. You know, I would be trampled on and I would be out yelled by all the big boys in there. So you would have to have quite some stature to be able to do that, and I have no stature. I'm 5'1" on a good day. So yeah. Right. I think we've got more furniture that's just arrived. Don't know if you can hear the doggos. Hopefully not. Alright. What is the name of this GEX indicator in TradingView? It is actually an invite-only indicator that you get after signing up at the very least for MentorQ Premium. I think the Premium is well, it used to be about $90. I don't really look at prices when I'm signing up for services, so I can have a look, but you can just go to MentorQ and figure out. There is a basic level, that is I think cheaper than that, but I don't know whether they give you the indicators because I was never on the basic. Every time I sign up for a company, I at least go for the premium. So I just went like straight in, and yeah, and I really love it. They actually recently made a change where you now no longer need to go into their Discord to drag out the string and then load it up on the indicator. It's literally just an invite-only indicator on TradingView, and then you just say MentorQ end of day levels, and when they're updated, whenever that is, there's a little circle to update them, and the API automatically loads the data, so you don't even have to go into their Discord if you don't want to. But you can, because they also have very, very good educational resources of how the market makers operate, and it's actually really, really good. Oh, somebody's saying you're a great host. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And thank you for spending time with me. Anytime we get people joining and listening, we try to all provide the information that we're trying to see in real time. Obviously, trading is not easy. And if I really had Eurex, I would be looking at Eurex because there's a pretty decent setup in DAX setting up. And initially when we were talking about Eurotrade, we were supposed to trade Eurex, and then it never came, and then we're just stuck trading trading weird products now. But it's still very educational, even for me, because I've been able to figure out which of the products I resonate with aside from DAX. It is more difficult. I'm not going to sit here and say it wasn't, but it was a big journey for me as well, because I normally traded COMEX and NYMEX only in the afternoons, my time, and obviously morning when I was in Chicago. So I never really traded London on anything else apart from DAX. Traded a bit of Bund. I didn't really like it. But, in a London firm, that's all we traded. We traded DAX. We traded Bund. A lot of people traded FTSE. Some people traded sort of spreads between Bund, Bobble, and Schatz, which are bonds for the German market. And then still a few people back then still traded a bit of euro dollar, euro USD, right? So, yeah. But, yeah, it's still very educational to kind of try and see how these markets behave. And, again, one thing I've noticed is that maybe go for the second level from whichever level is closest. That is something that I've started noticing more. I'm still sort of testing it to see whether it happens on most times and most days. There's a high probability observation and behavior that we can take advantage of. But basically, if we open London, even after like 90 minutes, that's still like not much happens. London is not like, like the US Open. It's like, let's go, hair on fire and screaming. That's how people trade NASDAQ. But, this is much calmer. You do get these like jumps, but it generally gives you a lot more time to decide what you want to do with it. But I have noticed if you have a very close by level from the options, no matter how strong it is, it almost always kind of runs to the next one. Not always, sometimes it just creeps up, especially if it's like a call resistance or something. It just creeps up to the call and just kind of throws up on the other side. But generally, if it's like anything aside from the super strong levels, it just smashes through one, then pauses at the other one at the very least. And strangely, it doesn't start a turnaround until another half an hour to an hour. Whereas DAX is already moving like crazy. So DAX, if I just show you. DAX is already going into a mean reversion down, touching the ADR low at the moment. What I don't like in DAX today is that we have a lot of options levels all bunched up around here, and then we also have a high volume level. So that's going to be a little difficult to break all at once. However, maybe if it jumps back up, there could be a short trade there to continue the move down to 250, which would be signaling the full mean reversion to value. And DAX has been very short recently. Opened with a bit of a gap and then kind of bled through it. Closed the gap, still carrying on. But again, we have some troublesome danger zone levels around here that would be maybe a bit tricky to figure out what's going on. So yeah. Komodo Dragon, do you have a course on how to read order flow and volume? I'm not a volume trader. I use volume a little bit, but no, I never really felt the need to use volume in such a way, because by the time that I see something happening, I'm already in, and then volume comes in. So that's usually how it happens for me. I know that some people who are momentum traders, they want to see the volume come in and then they get in, but that was the problem that I always had with volume traders. Now, the best guy for volume is by far Coach J. So want to read volume, go to him. And then reading order flow. The auction theory and market profile is order flow. It is orders and the auction in real time. You can combine it with volume, absolutely. But you already have levels that work extremely well. You have the outer edges of value. You have, you know, extremes of the ranges on the day. That's my quantitative extremes. Reading real-time order flow. I don't know whether you watch Lunchbox Trading with me and Marie and Hogue, but we talked about this. It's a very discretionary skill. It's not like you can pin systematically, this happens every time, or this happens 77% of the time, because it doesn't. Sometimes you can have a block of orders that you can see on the dome. So let's say, let's have a look at something else, because this is all pretty thin. Maybe look at crude oil. Let's see what's going on there. Nope, that's all bloody thin as well. Natural gas? No. Let's see, maybe euro, even though I don't have the data for euro, so that's not going to happen. Copper. I suppose platinum might be the best one for this purpose. So let's say that 4, 6, and 7 area is an order block, right? So you're like, okay, well, there's some liquidity up there. It's going to go higher. What happens after that? So they can come to the higher liquidity, but then it's anyone's guess whether they run through it or whether that multi-price order block acts as a stopping point. And that would be heavily dependent on how many orders are there, what time of day we're at, because platinum, just like other precious metals, it has a huge connection to Forex and to especially Aussie dollar. So there is a thing called Forex option expiry known as the NY cut that happens every single day at 10 a.m. Eastern, which is 9 a.m. Central, and 3 p.m. over my side of the world. That tends to cause reversals. So whenever you have a strong level in and around, whether it's from an options chain or from market profile, and to be honest, looking at options, they're always at these points where I already have something there. It's either an edge of value or the quantitative extreme or something from market profile that we already have as a potential area to look at. POC, you know. So levels that the market makers might want to adjust their inventory at, they are already there for a reason, right? It's just, it's a little bit more visible when you actually look at how they're positioned on the day, if that makes sense. But order flow is not a systematic skill. It's a discretionary skill. So maybe you can have a bunch of orders down below on platinum if you have enough, you know, prices there. But maybe you don't. So now what do you do if the entire dome is equal in prices? It makes it more difficult, right? Makes it more difficult. So what sort of information can we derive from the fact that we have 3, 1, 4, 1, 4, 5, 2, 3, and then 2, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3? That there is a balance. There is a balance. Nobody's trading with size. Everyone's trading peanuts. Again, it's summer. It's it's a bit of a weird time of the year. But yeah, so right now there's nothing to derive from it. So just like you're looking at price action, you need to find some sort of an imbalance, and then I think the highest probability is that sometimes on equities in particular, those will be hunted. But then you go to something like crude oil, and they very frequently have a large order, but then they kind of shy away from it by sometimes about 50 ticks away from it. Everybody can see them, but they're like, oh no, we're now going away from that level. So it's really dependent on what you're trading, what the context of the market is. Like, for example, context. ES, still in positive gamma. Still, we find a lot of either buyers or sellers with larger orders, usually higher up. Like if you have some sellers or they want to exit their longs at the all-time high or something, you will see them up top. And I will be guessing they're probably exiting because there's stuff about to go down with these tariffs. They've just kicked the bucket for another 90 days down the road, but things are coming, it is coming. So mark my words. However, let's say, it's an uptrend, strong uptrend. We're at all-time highs and you see a bunch of orders out higher up. What's the highest probability of order flow doing what? Going up to touch those orders. What happens after? Nobody knows. They might carry on, they might reverse it, they might, nobody knows. So order flow, the reason why you're not finding any courses or you're not finding any books on it, because it's a skill that's very discretionary. You just clock up the hours of watching your particular product, how it moves, how it breathes, and that's it. That can't be put in a book because it's not a method or anything. It's like it will change from context to context. So you just have to be good at reading it. And again, ES behaves one way, NQ also behaves another way, copper behaves a third way, gold behaves a fourth way. So it's like, well, what course are we going to do? It's like, you can't do a course. Tushar is asking me, what do you expect with the announcement of EU trade deal and the 15% tariffs? There has been no announcement of the trade deal, to my knowledge. It's not a deal. Unless I missed something. You see, devil is in the detail, man. Let's break that down. What do you think about the 15% deal? The announcement. No, the announcement was actually that we got close to a trade deal. But then if you were watching Christine Lagarde talk, she said, we're not close. That was journalists being sensationalist. We got closer, but we're not close to any deals. So we don't know. And I'm going to take Lagarde's stance there. I don't know. Remains to be seen. There is no deal yet, okay? They're still heavily negotiating. They're further along than they were, but nothing is set in stone yet. So don't, read the detail. Trading, news, headline risk, all about the detail. If you miss those little contextual details, you will massively misread what's happening, okay? Komodo Dragon says, my country is still on restricted countries. Would love to trade with Topstep. So I'm on ETF. What's ETF? Elite Trader Funding? Is that, yeah. Does it pay out? They do pay out. I've been with them like a million years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. But I don't know what's happened with them recently. I have not been following them, I've got to say. Don't know whether they are still good, because as we've seen with certain other firms, things can change. They can be reputable, paying out, and then suddenly introduce a whole bunch of retroactive rules. and lock it down. So I can't tell you what's happening. The restriction of Topstep in regards to certain countries is not Topstep. It's actually a CFTC restriction. Okay. Topstep is coming up with a brokerage as well, so we have to abide. They're becoming, that side of the business is also becoming, I think, NFA certified as well. So they cannot go against the CFTC rules of certain countries that are considered dangerous. When I went to see my mom in Serbia, they now also have a rule that if you're traveling outside of the country that is approved, you can't even trade from there. Now, I'm a naturalized British citizen, but I no longer have Serbian citizenship. Like, I've not lived there for 25 years, and I only have the British passport. But whenever I'm traveling there, I travel on a British passport. But when I'm in that country, even though it's my mom and everything, I still can't trade my live account because of the restrictions. You're not allowed to trade even if you're traveling. That's a new regulation and compliance that they have to deal with as a company who also has a potential brokerage as well. So, be very careful. But don't blame them. Don't blame Topstep. It's really nothing to do with Topstep. It's the fact that they do have live traders, and by that, it means they have to abide by some really strict CFTC rules and regulations, and that means not doing trade with dodgy countries. And I'm sorry to say, I am from Serbia. I know you're from South Africa, Komodo Dragon, I believe, if I remember that correctly. I'm sorry, we come from dodgy countries. We do. Like, I love Serbia, but they're weird. That's not, like, from a trade point of view. Yeah, they're not right. There's a lot of fraud coming from those countries. So, Kopritis wants to know, what's my opinion on algorithmic trading? I've been testing with Python for months now, historical data, mainly on ES, and I've got some interesting yet realistic results. Algorithmic trading is great as long as you keep different algorithms around a singular idea. So this is what we found. And yes, we do mechanical algorithms as a part of one of my businesses. So this is the mistake that I made. So I thought I was going to be able to create a bot that's going to replace me. Oh boy, was I wrong. So I tried to smush everything into the same algorithm, and it didn't work. It filtered out so many trades. It got its wires crossed. And there was no way to disconnect different strategies within the same algorithm. And I've got probably about 27 different setups relating to different market conditions, whether it's going to be a range, whether I'm going to run a breakout trade from IB or not, things like that. So once we made that mistake, we went back to the drawing board, and then I educated myself, went through a little course on how to create mechanical trading systems, and I was like, that's where I went wrong. Okay, so let's now try to do something different. So I took just a singular idea, like let's say average daily range reversal from a 5-minute chart late in the day. That's one of my setups. That worked. Initially, we always run the algorithms with no optimization. So none of that, let the position grow with the growth of the account. Don't do that initially because it gives you fake results. Because the change of position size skews data. So you have to run the first tests, usually on a 3 to 6 month period, and then to go, okay, that was the back test. Now let me run an out of sample test. What's an out of sample test? It's basically taking 2 to 3 weeks to run it in real live markets, because live markets not the same as a back test. You can very easily overfit and over optimize an algorithm very easily without even realizing it. You do like 4 changes, you've already over optimized it. It's ridiculous. And the more you over optimize, the less likely it is that that thing is going to work for any other different market state. But here's the kicker. Once you have one that works, let's say that it's a breakout momentum indicator, it doesn't mean that it's going to keep working. So you need to become a quant strategist and decide whether it's the right time of the year to actually run that algorithm. So it's not all just click and play. You know, it's not quite that easy. It's always to do with somebody there switching on and off algorithms that need to be switched on or off for the current market conditions. Maybe you even need to watch what sort of stops it's using. So if the volatility drops too far down, stops need to be changed. So maybe you need to have some kind of TensorFlow block that will train the algorithm on that basic point, just like to have systematic rules over the stop loss sizes and the profit targets and when they go up or down to modify that to train the whole algorithm. Obviously TensorFlow is machine learning and stuff, so a little bit of an extra piece of work for you. But yeah, just don't try to smush all of your strategies in one algorithm. That's the biggest takeaway there. And always run an out of sample test. Always. Do not run anything on an account that matters thinking that you got a great backtest, because I've seen many amazing backtests when I was running my own little prop firm before COVID. And I've never seen a bad backtest, ever. But I've seen a lot of bad live trading. So based on those algorithms. I actually had somebody who claimed that they're profitable, and they're like, I've got this algorithm, I want to run it. So I let him run it for 6 months. It was scratch. And then it slowly started bleeding money. So I was like, okay, are you going to change something? And he was like, no, it's profitable. And I was like, but for 6 months, it hasn't been profitable. So, something needs to change. And he's like, but it's an algorithm. You just let it run. I got great backtests. You've seen them. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a backtest. And then obviously we started getting COVID and the algorithm just blew up. So yeah. Hope that helps. It's my experience with it. Right, 15 minutes trying to turn around. See how it looks in 2 minutes time. Let's get some time and sales here. I didn't open my book map just yet, so I'm just gonna have to do time and sales here, even though I don't particularly like it, especially not this early. But yeah, let's see what's going on. Still super slow. Chill summer trading. Alright, a few sellers here. That's what brought the reversal. Are they going to continue now? That is the main question. So, on a price action perspective level, I would need to see a bit of a more committed black bar here without the buying wick, because this is really more of a consolidation, and then the next one is going to come back up again. So not the best reversal, but we do have a selling wick and some excess from earlier. And then on a 30-minute chart, this still just looks like it's not trying to decide where to go. But on the upside, we have taken out the Asia low and gone below it. So that's a plus. That's actually a setup that occurs pretty frequently across the board, whatever you're trading. So take out of Asia high, reversal. Now how much it's going to run for to the downside is anyone's guess. Usually we get into this dead zone now, and then not much happens until the true overlap begins. So also a reason why I want to combine. So let's wait for that. Komodo Dragon, what's the max amount of money brokers allow for retail traders on personal live account? There is no max. I knew a guy from Netherlands that was very, very rich, multi-millionaire, and he deposited like, I think it was like 20 million or something ridiculous. Obviously, there's you get given a private account manager, and at one point that account, I don't know what he was doing, but at one point that account grew to over 1 billion, and then he lost it all because he wasn't a trader, he was just a retail investor. So got it wrong and lost it. So yeah, there is no limit. But at the same time, it's not the question of how much money can you deposit maximum. The question is the money that you're going to deposit something that you're prepared to lose? Now remember that disclaimer that Bruno posted? Well, a part of that disclaimer says, let's go back to the beginning. Part of that disclosure: never risk more than you're willing to lose. Now in Topstep, it's a little bit different because you're only paying for the XFS, for the actual combine, right? But if you know, even they say never fund short-term or leverage trading activities with retirement accounts, student loan proceeds, second mortgages, emergency funds, or funds set aside for education, home ownership, living expenses. Okay? So, for those of you who are thinking of placing your savings into a personal brokerage, please don't. Please don't. There's no need. You have Topstep. And oodles of other firms as well. But, you know, Topstep, you'll never have problems with payouts. Ever. Like, if you've made that money fair and square, they will give it to you. No weird rules. All the rules are pretty transparent. And if you're on a live account, even those restrictions all go away, especially once you've had 30 days of over 200. But the little birdie told me that even that might be changing. Just watch the main broadcast today. That's all I'm going to say. There's some exciting changes coming. So just watch the show. The good news, says Deeyana, since you predominantly live in the UK, do I need to declare how much payout I get per year to HMRC? How does the tax work for day traders? I don't trade as a day trader through personal income. I trade through an LTD company, and yes, I do run everything through that. Now the thing is, in the UK, there is a tax-free allowance of, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was 11K last year. Every year they sort of increase it a little bit, so let's just see. And this goes for everybody, right? Okay, so personal allowance. Okay, personal allowance is right now up to £12,570. So if your yearly proceeds from Topstep do not exceed over £12,000, which in USD would probably be around 15,000, there is nothing to declare. It falls onto your tax-free allowance. Now, if you're employed and you've already made that money through your day job, which also includes the tax-free allowance, you may need to pay some tax on your Topstep proceeds. It's all down to your personal. I'm not an accountant, by the way. I've just dealt with a lot of day trader crap over the years, and a lot of stuff that was very mythical and not very clear, all in like a gray area in HMRC, where everybody told me how spread betting is free back in the day, so I traded, and then we got done for extra tax that we weren't expecting. And then also people telling us that all dividends are classed at 10%. They weren't. If you go over 60K, they definitely are not. They go into the normal sort of 33% tax. So yeah, we've made some mistakes through that. But live and learn, right? So now I can give a bit of more educated, experience. But again, I'm not an accountant. I think these days there's more people dealing with like day traders, especially after so many people making a bunch of money from crypto and stuff. So yeah, just, if you go over 12K, and you have no other income, if you're unemployed, you're just doing trading, or fun employed, as Nick Fortick used to say, then you don't have to declare anything unless you're income exceeds 12,570 in pounds. So yeah, if it does exceed it, yeah, you will have to declare it. Whether you're gonna actually pay tax on it depends on whether you're running it as a personal trading income, and then it's personal income tax. So then brackets, whatever bracket you're in. If you get to a higher tax bracket, but not in like over 200K, so that you have quite a lot left over, it actually gets pretty bloody painful. If you make just over 60K, but not quite 100K, they fleece you for money. So this is why most of us go to limited companies. We open up limited companies, and then you can pay a corporation tax. There's a lot less. And yes, you have to mess around with VAT returns if you're over 80 grand a year. That's every 3 months. Some people on the internet are like, but your accountant does your taxes for you. It's like VAT, you have to put expenses down. Like you yourself. Your accountant is not going to go, oh, what did you do? Because this is how a VAT return would look like otherwise. The payment for this particular company, like let's say I run course platforms through Thinkific. What is Thinkific platform? And I go, it's a course platform. It's a part of our business. Okay. What is this Quant Connect platform? Oh, that is a business. So do you want to spend like 5 hours on the phone with your accountant, or do you want to do it in like the space of 20 minutes, thankfully with like QuickBooks and other things that we have right now? It's like literally 20 minutes of your time every 3 months. But if you're not over 80 grand yet, whether in your contracting jobs or wherever, you're not going to even have VAT, but you still have to have an accountant to prepare your tax return properly and your self-assessment, because then you will be self-employed and there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes with it. But it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun because it means you've grown to a point to actually think about having a limited company from your trading business. It's exciting times. So I wouldn't look at, oh yeah, all the LTD nonsense that we have to do as a negative. It's a positive. It's a privilege. So, yes, it's annoying, but hey, Good News says, yeah, already making 60K from another job. Yeah, okay, so you'll probably have to declare that, because I'm guessing that job will include the tax-free allowance, and then they tax you on anything above it. So yeah. Back in the day, there was this nonsense about spread betting, like I said, and everyone's like, oh, spread betting is free in the UK. You don't have to pay any tax. So I believe that, fell for that, but here was the caveat: if you had no other income, and you went over the tax-free allowance, and that was your sole income, and you were doing more than like 3 trades per week, so you were effectively an active trader rather than a long-term investor. If you're a long-term investor, you only do a couple of trades a year. You can maybe pull that under CGT, capital gains tax. But if not, you do this sort of stuff. It's all day trading. You've got to pay. HMRC wants a piece of their pie, obviously, especially if you're profitable. So I thought, oh yeah, still spread betting is great. So we, did it through spread betting account. Guess what? HMRC came after us 2 years later, because it's not the same year. So it'll be like, right now we've just declared the fiscal year that ended in March, and now whatever I make from now till next March, that's not going to be due until another year after. So yeah, always put aside the money for taxes just in case. Matt Hughes says, you could always move to Turkey. No thanks, I live in the UK for a good reason. I love living in the UK. We have amazing services. We're very safe where we are. Especially if you're in an affluent area like I am right now. Nobody bothers you. It's a village. Where I live, it's literally out in the sticks. I've got one neighbor and then nothing for like half a mile that way. And then another sort of half a mile past our first neighbor. And our neighbor actually sold us this place. So it was the house that he built with his dad. And then his father passed away, so they decided to sell it. Roy Abbott says, create a family trust, but you can't get money out of a family trust. Not in the UK. I know in the USA is different. UK has entirely different laws about trust funds. If you're planning to maybe build wealth for your family and you don't want to use your day trading income for anything else, yeah, put it in a trust. But just know that you won't be able to get that money out without paying tax on it for at least the next 10 years. And then whenever you take money out, there will be 40% tax to you again. Can't get away from taxes in the UK. If you trade as a hobby, it doesn't matter. If you make money from your hobby, HMRC is going to want a piece of the pie. If it's over, if you've got no other job and you can still have the tax-free allowance, then if you make over 12,000, same argument, we get to a point where you have to pay tax on the rest of it. It's just how it is. It's the UK, man. There's a reason why we're expensive over here. Like, we do pay a lot of money in taxes, but, you know, we have free healthcare. You know, we have the NHS. They're not the best, but they will help. At least it's free. It's not going to get you into any debt or anything. Especially if it's something serious, they will take care of you. We have excellent services for roads. We have, you know, council services, you know, rubbish and recycling collection always in time. So yeah, I love UK. This is why I stay here. Dozer says if you move to Puerto Rico for 185 days out of the year, you avoid the short-term gains tax from day trading. What, in the UK or in the USA? I would guess USA. I don't know about USA. I am a UK resident, so I only know stuff about UK tax and how that works. Komodo Dragon, if a person has a personal live account and I divide the capital by 40 and use that by risk, is that too much? Do not do that with a personal live account. That's maybe something you can do with maximum loss limit and the available balance for prop accounts, because if you F it up for 40 days or 40 trades, which, knowing you, Komodo Dragon, can happen in 2 days flat, because from what I remember, you're more of a scalper, right? Unless you change that. So your entire personal live account will only last 40 trades. So no, please don't do that. John Killio says, what name do I use on X and Instagram? So they're different. My X name is actually underneath this video. Topstep have kindly put my YouTube and my X Twix account. So it's pip_raider, because I have a lot of ticks and pip. Like back in the day, I was coming from the Forex world, and that X account is really old, right? So I was known that one of my nicknames was Pip Raider, like Tomb Raider, like Lara Croft, but just with pips. And then I obviously went into futures, but Pip Raider just sounded better than Tick Raider. Tick Raider sounds like I'm picking off ticks from my dog or something. Yeah, so that's those two are my main ones. I will be honest, I don't use Instagram much. I posted some stuff over the years, but I don't know, man. I'm just at a point of being completely saturated with with like social media. From my point of view, they seem to pop up every few years because I'm old. So we first had MySpace, then we started getting Facebook, then we had Instagram. Then suddenly Twitter came along. Then, you know, YouTube started trying to create like long form videos. Great. All different platforms. But now I kind of feel they've all molded in the same nonsense of every single platform is trying to be TikTok. right? You have Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. It's like we already have a platform, but they want their piece of the pie, right? So now to me, they've all blended into one, and I don't see a point of having all of them. I really don't. I think TikTok is the biggest nonsense we've ever. Like, every time I'm on TikTok, my brain rots. Like, literally, I go on there and I'm like, what is all this? Like, it's just like random people giving you random pieces of information that you really don't need, or that is not revolutionary at all. It's like, oh, do you know what the thing on the Crocs is on the front? Did you know you can put that on your heel? It's like, yes, what did you think it was for? It's like, so I don't know, as somebody who's to be 45 in December, I can't. I can't. You know. So my Instagram name is full on just one word, Market Stalkers. No underscore anywhere in that particular name. Anybody else, I know I have scammers impersonating me over there. Anybody else is not me, right? So I'll show you what it is, but just know that the only thing I post there is random stories that have nothing to do with trading. It's mainly for my personal life, but I do have this on a selfie mode as well here. So that is my. You're not going to be able to see that if I don't do that. So okay, so literally just Market Stalkers. Let me see if I can flip it. There it is. Anybody else with underscores and weird crap on the username is not me. So just know that there are scammers that are impersonating me. So stay safe out there. All right, so we're grinding down away from the GEX2 level. We're slowly reversing. So this is one of those trades that could take hours. But yeah, let's see how far it gets to. Obviously, danger zone is GEX3. If we bounce from there, look, I'm expecting a bit of a reaction there, but whether it's sustained or not, so we might go a little bit bouncy on the 15-minute chart. But ultimately, I would like it to break and to act as another accelerator to the downside, because while platinum is still in a positive gamma environment, this was a rally, and this is your typical example of market makers selling at a particular GEX level of interest, usually GEX 1, 2, or 3, although any GEX level could do this. But GEX 1, 2, and 3 have the highest probability of doing this, and therefore, in order for them to remain neutral, they attempt to sell a rally to stay within their neutral sentiment. But I feel that we have a very good chance of reaching 1425 according to some of my analysis. But yeah, we'll see what happens with this particular trade. Remember, it is a combine trade, so not like super serious, but just testing the waters. This is not the best time of the day to be trading platinum. So let's hope that we can get DAX at some point, because DAX is now reversing and going into a failed auction, which could be my pretty good setup. And then I'm going to go and trade that on my personal. And hopefully someday I will be able to trade those setups for this time zone on Topstep as well. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Anyways, that's all for today. I'm going to kind of keep an eye on this, but not particularly actively, because it is a combine trade, so it doesn't mean anything to me. I have a live account, so it's like whatever. I can't get funded from it. So it's literally just to keep my skills of observation and MGI coming in sharp for the summertime, and then to notice when things start picking up. I will be able to figure out when it's time to kind of go back into the live markets. But until things pick up, maybe towards the next week, I don't know whether I'm going to be trading too many live trades this week. So yeah, that's all for today. I will see you tomorrow for another Euro trade, and then I will also be on for Tuesday And very exciting news. I think we have a VIP draft for my chameleonaires on Wednesday. I think that's going to be a little earlier. I believe it's going to be 4:30 my time. That is 10:30 Central. Don't quote me on that. Just look at the broadcast. They will tell you. But yes, it is VIP draft week. So super exciting. Anyways, I'm going to love you and leave you. And yeah, have a great day. Be careful. We have FOMC and NFP, so big week. However, it is the summer, so it might be storming a teacup, right? So let's stay vigilant as always. Maybe size down. Don't go full porting. If there are opportunities, take them, but don't put all of your money on the line. It's July. It's weird. It's low volatility. In fact, I've looked at gold, some of the analysis of what the market makers have done, what the CTAs are doing. They're all neutral. So, Right, that's all for today. This has been the Euro Trade. I'm Marcus Stalker D, and I will see you very soon. Take care.